For me, I come to Limud here for the first time, I'm blown away. And I am very, very concerned about the Jewish future. Rabbis tend to be concerned. I think committed Jews should be concerned because there is an increasing opportunity for our young people, for the next generation, to move away. And that's what we're experiencing. It's, if the best way to kill the Jewish community is with kindness and openness. Let us be as welcoming a community as possible, and we will find ways to assimilate into the general vast culture. A study was done. If you ask Jews who are involved in synagogue life, who are 30 years or younger, Jews involved in synagogue life, would it affect you personally if the state of Israel ceased to be? 50% of those said it would have no personal impact upon them at all. And these are Jews involved in synagogue life. Imagine what the answer would be if you went outside the synagogue community. 50% of Jews younger than 30 years old would not feel personally moved, personally affected if the state of Israel ceased to be. And one of the things everyone tends to do, I do it too, is I tend to extrapolate from my own experience as to what Jewish life is. You understand that you who are here at Limud represent a very atypical slice of the American Jewish community. You are very unusual in the most wonderful sense. And I would love to know what brings people to Limud. What happened to you? What experiences have you had that would bring you to a weekend in the Catskills to experience Jewish life with other people of all diverse Jewish backgrounds and Jewish expressions? But don't miss the fact that this group is a very unusual, atypical group. And what I'm concerned about is, how do we develop this kind of commitment and excitement about Jewishness on a larger scale? And if somebody were to hand me $100 million, that's what I'd be interested in doing. Using that money to somehow excite. I'm in the process of writing an article that came out of my experience just before this year's GA in Washington, when people came together to celebrate Birthright Israel, 10 years of Birthright Israel. And Israel's ambassador to America, Michael Oren, a Jew from New Jersey, who now represents the state of Israel, spoke about what moved him, his personal journey. I share it with you briefly. Michael Oren said that when he was bar mitzvah, when he became a bar mitzvah, at his bar mitzvah ceremony, he read his material from transliterated Hebrew. Michael Oren transliterated Hebrew at his bar mitzvah, and now he's Israel's ambassador to the United States. What happened to him? These are the 4 things Michael Oren cited. Number 1, the Holocaust, which affected his family and which was a living presence in his family. Number 2, personal experiences, even in New Jersey, of anti-Semitism. Michael Oren said there were times he had to fight because he was a Jew. Number 3, the Six-Day War of 1967. And he describes how one morning, and every morning his family had breakfast together, his father brings down Life magazine, which had on its cover the picture of an Israeli soldier holding a captured Egyptian rifle, crossing some kind of body of water. And Michael Oren says his father took that Life magazine and kissed it right at the kitchen table. I love this boy, his father said. And Michael Oren said, I wanted to be that boy. And number 4 was the quixotic quest of American Jewry, which fought on behalf of enslaved Russian Jews. The movement to save Russian Jewry touched Michael Orwin. All those experiences that he had moved him to want to go to Israel, join the Israeli army, become fluent in Hebrew, and now become not only one of the world's great Jewish historians, but now a representative of the state of Israel. And I point out to you, it didn't come from religious school. It didn't come from Talmud Torah. It didn't come from day school. And I don't know how many of you have seen the movie A Serious Man, done by the Coen brothers, which has in it the most brilliant, painful depiction of what Talmud Torah was for an entire generation of young people who sat at desks with the equivalent of iPods, with cassette machines, in their ear, while a rabbi whose back to them was declining the verb halach. Ani halachti habayta, ata halachta habayta. And meanwhile, you see these kids and their eyes are glazed over.
From the pot that they're smoking?
That's correct. Just glazed. And I argue, I have heard this, I'm 64 years old. I was ordained in 1972. I have heard forever it's about Jewish education, and it is. But it's more than Jewish education, and limud is the proof. It's about experience. It's about emotion. It's about touching something inside a human being that connects them to the greatest center of Jewish life, and it's the Devar Torah. But it's not Orthodox Torah. It's not Reform, it's not conservative, it's not Reconstructionist. It's the essence of a value system and a connection to a people, a community, a family called the Jewish people. We are not a religion, we're a family. And we have at our core a way of embracing life and living life that we call Torah in Hebrew and Judaism in English. And I've spent my life trying to explain to Jews who want to understand more about what this Torah, quote, Judaism is, what the essence of it is. And if I had $100 million, I would do two things with it that I wrote for Mark. Number one, I would take half of it, if I had $100 million, I would take half of it and I'd give it to the existing, most successful program on the world Jewish scene today. It's Birthright Israel. And why is it so successful? Because it's about experience. It takes kids and it drops them into Israel for 10 days and they come back different. It's not about teaching them in a classroom. It's about an experience in Israel. And for all the things that Gary said, the one thing I disagree with, I believe Israel still is the enormous unifier in the Jewish community. Do we have problems with policies? Yeah, we have problems with policies. But do we understand what Israel means for the Jewish future? And then I take 50% and then I'm self-serving. I believe the Jewish community has yet to use the most powerful media tool at their disposal. It was number one on Mark's list. I put it in Jewish television. And, by the way, understand, Shalom TV is nonprofit. I do not take 1 penny for Shalom TV. This isn't for me. But I believe there should be a place where you can learn Hebrew on television, only Shalom TV. You can study a page of Talmud on television, only Shalom TV. Every single week there are programs for children on Jewish television, only on Shalom TV. There should be a place, I call it Jewish C-SPAN, where when Dory Golub debates Justice Richard Goldstone on the Goldstone Report at Brandeis University, there's a place to see it. There's a feature on Gary Rosenblatt right now this week. There should be a feature on Limud. There should be a feature on everything exciting happening in the Jewish world that then touches people's hearts. What I would do with my money was try to touch the hearts of Jews, to make them more experientially involved in Jewish life.